Hi there. It is time to reopen this economy now. Really? Do you need some Democratic governor to tell you that? Or some so-called expert to tell you when it's safe? This is nuts. And many people are recognizing that. I've been coming across this week so many studies, how so many people already have had this virus. The left-wing mainstream media and Democrats, they just keep talking testing, testing, testing. I don't care about testing. You don't need to test everybody. Just stop it. Stop it. This is less deaths than many flu pandemics. Let's just reopen. Now, I understand the position that our wonderful President Trump is in. So he's laid out these guidelines, and he's chosen not to take on directly Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, because that would be ruinous. It would be like, I don't know, taking on Comey and then having the Mueller investigation that went on for so long. So I see what he's doing, but he didn't stop, even though he said he didn't approve Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia from starting his reopening. And I really like that guy, so I'm following him on Twitter. And by the way, I'm having a good time on Twitter. That's a whole other story. But it's fun. Twitter is fun. I'm getting lots of good information off of it. And of course, I just don't read anything. There's a lot of garbage on Twitter, but I don't read that. But if any of you want to follow me on Twitter, please do, because I'm putting forth good videos, good articles, things I come across. And it's fun. And I want to thank Eric Freed and Rocco the dog. I mean, as soon as I put something out, they see it. And it means a lot to me. And comments, it's great. So thank you for those who follow me on Twitter and put your comments in. And of course, I love all of you that leave comments on my videos, particularly, well, all of you, but particularly the regulars. Some of you, when you're regulars, I think, where are you? If I haven't heard from you. But you usually always come through. I appreciate that. Well, there's so much good information out there right now that's very hopeful. And all of this that's coming out about UV light from the sun, how that so amazingly kills a virus so quickly. So it's very clear that people need to be outdoors. Very clear. I mean, even if there was like a droplet in the air, I mean, first of all, it would disperse. But second of all, UV light kills it. Like, what, a minute and a half? When you watch the studies that have been, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. We've known that heat and humidity have a deleterious effect on the virus, but the UV light is fantastic. And that also has really good ramifications, because think about airplanes, for example, because you have recirculating air. So one of the things you could do is put a UV light, and there was a company that was talking about that they do this in groceries. They could do this in grocery stores and I guess airplanes, but you have UV light at the top, not pointing at the people, because I don't want a bunch of UV light on me. Then I have to wear sunscreen everywhere. But anyway, you point it upward, and then you recirculate the air, and the air goes upward, and if there's any viruses in the air, it just kills them off. So we're learning a lot from this little pandemic that was not a serious pandemic. So I have been fascinated about the psychology of this, because I'm very interested in psychology and people. And one of the things I've noticed is that it's very hard to be first. Like, now that all this information, if we were starting from ground zero right now, knowing what we know now, we would have never had this shutdown. But once it's in place and people are afraid, what are you going to do? It's like people are nervous about doing this. So it's hard to be first. So I really, really admire Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia, and that he took that step, even though he's getting pilloried for it. But it's the right thing to do. It is absolutely the right thing to do. So Jen and Mitch, my niece and her husband, hopefully can go back to their CrossFit gym, because they had to kind of shut that down. But anyway, I'm hoping for you. And I got, just before this, I got a text from Devin, my friend, a beach friend, another friend. But anyway, she's really well in touch with the people in Santa Monica. And she said May 15th, they're going to reopen the beaches. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Because I was thinking, how can I protest? This is crazy. People should be out at the beach. People should be outdoors. You know, it's warm, it's beautiful. And when I go out and jog and run and walk, there's a lot of people out. And I'm noticing less and less people outdoors are wearing masks, which is good. Now, one of the things I've been thinking about is, do you really think that, I certainly don't, need a Democratic governor or mayor or some authority figure to tell you when it's safe to go outside? I mean, I don't need it. I mean, this whole idea of relying on so-called experts, first of all, in this case, now experts are all over the map, and most of them that are free to speak out are saying it's not a problem. I mean, I just got this article that my friend Pamela, she sent me some really good stuff, but she told me, so here's this article, Stanford doctor, 5 reasons to stop panic in total isolation. And here's one of the things, so he was just saying, we're done, we should do this. Stanford's been coming out with some good stuff lately. I'm starting to like Stanford a lot. So let's take New York City, which was the hardest hit. It accounts for 1/3 of all US deaths. 1/3, New York City, 1/3 of the coronavirus deaths. Now, there's a lot of problems with how those deaths are counted, but let's just go with that. So even in New York City, people 18 to 45 years old, the death rate for people who got the virus or knew that they got the virus is 0.01%. That's like nothing, 11 per 1,000 in the population. For people under 18 years old, the rate of death is 0 per 100,000 people. This is crazy. That's in New York City. California, it's like nobody's dying. And again, you don't need an expert to tell you this, okay? Just look around. How many people do you know who are sick and dying from this? You have got to do that, people, because if you listen to the media, the way that, it's a well-known fact that the way the human brain works, if we hear about something a lot, it gains more prominence in our mind as an issue. Like people who think local, I remember reading a study about people who think local crime is a problem and are really worried about it. Those are the people that watch the nightly news because they're talking about the crime locally. People who didn't watch it didn't think it was much of a problem. And this has been over and over and over again shown that that's how our brains work. So if we're constantly hearing about this coronavirus, it just creates, for a lot of people, a lot of fear. That's one of the things that distresses me about this, because what is my goal in doing these videos, talking to people, is I've always tried to remove fear, unnecessary fear. Prudence, fine. I'm all for that. Taking care of yourself, fine. But don't have this fear. And we're just creating fear in people. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I personally do not like wearing a mask. What happens when you put that mask on? You're thinking about illness. You're thinking about, I gotta protect myself from the world. It's creating this worried well. I used that term before, and others have talked about it. And that's one of the reasons why I don't do cancer testing. There's not a problem with cancer in my family. And I just have I have no fears about cancer. I just have no fears about it. I know that the thing that will most likely kill me in the end is something to do with heart or circulatory system or something like that. Because that's actually what kills most people. Heart attacks, strokes, and then cancer. So if you have a lot of cancer in your family, I guess you could be worried about that. But this other stuff, nah, it's not going to happen. But my own thing is that I'm not doing any self-isolation. I mean, I'll happily see and hug any of my friends and family. I'm not going to not do that. And I'll fly on airplanes. Although I might bring a mask in case I'm sitting close to somebody who's coughing or looks ill, because that would just be prudent. Now it might be a good idea anyway. One of the things, of course, there's this whole issue of the government. And I mean, think about it. Healthy people have been put on house arrest, essentially. Why? Why? And all these incredible rules, why? I don't need that kind of protection. I'm going to put a pinned link to this, and it's kind of long, and I also tweeted it. There's a Dr. Erickson, Dan Erickson, and Dr. Dr Massey from Kern County, which is kind of Bakersfield, and I mean, they have clinics apparently from Fresno to Bakersfield or something. I don't know the details of who they are, but oh my God, it's so interesting. And starting around, I'm gonna play you what they said, because I actually learned something about immunology, because one of the things I was concerned about is this whole cleanliness. We gotta keep everything clean, keep the germs out, keep the viruses out. And I thought that's not good, because I've known for a long time that children's immune systems you need to get exposed. But I didn't realize that you also need it as an adult. So let me play this.
So we've gone over the secondary effects. We've gone over the statistics. Now I want to compare flu virus.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to go a little further forward. I mean, the whole thing is interesting, but you really got to hear this part. By the way, these guys are really cute. They're very nice to look at. It's so admirable. I just love them both.
This data is generated by the CDC, World Health Organization. The testing is generated by what we have done here. So we are following the science.
Now he's going to talk about the immune system. Listen carefully.
Now I want to talk about the immune system. Dr. Massey used to teach for immunology. We both had years of microbiology, biochemistry, and virology studies. We've made it our life's work to understand this stuff. And here, I'd like to go over some basic things about how the immune system functions so people have a good understanding. The immune system is built by exposure to antigens, viruses, bacteria. When you're a little child crawling on the ground, putting stuff in your mouth, viruses and bacteria come in, you form an antigen-antibody complex, you form IgG, IgM. This is how your immune system is built. You don't take a small child, put them in bubble wrap in a room and say, go have a healthy immune system. This is immunology, microbiology 101. This is not something, this is the basis of what...
So think about this. This is what we're doing to kids. We are trying to keep them too clean. We're not letting them get exposed. And that's actually dangerous. But he goes on to talk about it's dangerous for us, that we actually, to keep our immune system up, you need to be exposed to things. And what are we trying to do?
We've known for years. What I'm seeing is when you take human beings and you say, go into your house, clean all your counters, Lysol them down, you're going to kill 99% of viruses and bacteria, wear a mask, don't go outside. What does it do to our immune system? Our immune system is used to touching. We share bacteria, staphylococcal, streptococcal bacteria, viruses. We develop an immune response daily to this stuff. When you take that away from me, my immune system drops. As I shelter in place, my immune system drops. You keep me there for months, it drops more. And now I'm at home, hand washing vigorously, washing the counters, worried about things that are indeed what I need to survive. Let's follow the science.
So I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. These guys are so good. I learned a lot from this. I was inspired. They talk about we should be reopening now, and they were fantastic. So please, if you have the time, just listen to the whole thing. And it's in 2 parts. And at the end, I mean, they said, what's going on here? Why are we shutting down? I mean, they're true patriots as well. My new heroes. So I'm very concerned about health issues. What are we doing to our health? What are we doing to our mindset? So I saw, who was it, Zeke Emanuel. He was Rahm Emanuel's brother. I guess he had helped Obama set up Obamacare. He's a doctor. But he said something like, we need to do social shaming for people. We need to, so they'll wear masks, they'll do this, and whatever. Well, here's what I think. Let's do some social shaming the other way. I mean, one of the things I noticed, because I have been on both sides of the aisle, conservatives in general, or people on the right in general, are much nicer people than people on the left. So why should they set the agenda? Why should they decide what to do? I mean, no. So I got to tell you what happened to me last Sunday. I was so excited. I was having a friend come over, and so I didn't have time because I wanted to make a video and tell you all because I was so excited. But you know how when someone says something to you that's kind of rude and you really don't know how to respond, and so you kind of think about it, whatever. But I was so fired up from doing my video last Saturday. So I went, and it was a beautiful day. I did my fast runs, because I don't really jog. I run fast, then walk, run fast, to kind of get the interval training, get my heart rate up. And so then I was walking back to my car, kind of in a reverie, thinking about the comments I had received for the video and what I would say in response, because I like to kind of ponder the comments and think about how to respond. And thinking, what a beautiful day it was. So then I didn't notice that to my right there was a couple, and they looked to be, I don't know, mid-40-ish age-wise, kind of soy latte drinking types, kind of wimpy looking or whatever, walking their dog. And I didn't really see them. They both had their masks on. So the woman, she just said, "You should be wearing a mask. You should get far away." And it just kind of shocked me. I had a rush of adrenaline. And you know what I did? Without thinking, I said, "Wimp, wimp. Oh, you're afraid of one little drop, wimp, wimp." And I'm like yelling at them. And I felt so empowered. And I did it even without thinking. It just, how dare you ruin my good day outside? So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So, oh, I can hear the neighbors yelling and making noise. That's kind of nice. It means people are outside having fun. So if you hear voices, that's what that is. But anyway, I realized that you need to have a plan in place. So I don't know what I'll say next time. I probably won't react quite like that. But I felt so good. And you know what? It's like, what right did they have to think that they could be such a busybody like that and tell me what to do? I mean, if I was some big burly guy with tattoos, would they have done it? Or did they think because I was a woman, she could do it? It's like, no, you can't. So I'm gonna fight back. And I'm doing that with a whole host of things. Like, if you're gonna insult my president, I'm fighting back. I'm just not gonna put up with it. And so, I mean, for a lot of people, that's hard. I'm noticing that, I've always noticed this, that we humans we tend to do, we're very socially kind of conformist. It's hard to stand out. You kind of have to have a lot of self-confidence to do it. So one of the things you can do is just sort of have something in mind. So if somebody makes a snide comment, maybe you can just have a thing like, oh, mind your own business, or say something to put them down a little bit if they think that they should say something. Go, no, I just don't want to do it. I want to breathe the fresh air. Or haven't you read the latest research? Just have something in mind as to what you want to say. Don't just get caught off guard. And don't let yourself be intimidated by it. Don't let people talk to you that way. I mean, we need to fight back. There's a lot of weird control. I mean, think about it. It's like a police state, medical martial law, where people are feeling like they're under house arrest. That's crazy, people. That is crazy. I mean, call it like it is. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And another thing about reopening, let us take care of ourselves and businesses. So businesses will showcase how they're getting things cleaned up. Maybe they'll wear their masks or whatever. But let the people decide. Let the businesses decide. We all know there's something out there. Don't have, like I was listening to Mark Cuban, and I think he thinks he'll run for president someday or something. He's a Democrat, but he's business person. And he was saying the government should make guidelines. And I was listening to him talk, and I thought, no, the government doesn't need to make these guidelines. Let us do it, okay? I don't want all these guidelines about what I do with my health. Thank you very much, because I think I can do a better job taking care of my health. Speaking of which, every year I go get a blood test. I do it through life extension because I want to have the results. I want the quantitative results, not qualitative. If you go through a doctor, the doctor will say, oh, it's good to read it. Well, it's like, no, I need to know what it is because I do my own research. So I get everything tested so I can see year by year what's happening. And because I take like a lot of vitamin D, I don't want to get too high. I want to see what all my levels are so I can monitor. So I did it through life extension, called them up, did my usual blood test, which is like very, very extensive. I mean, it took 12 vials of blood. Anyway, but when I called up LabCorp, oh my God, so easy to get an appointment. It was like I could get anytime I want. And when I went in there, nobody else was there. So all these labs, they're hurting. And you've heard this with the medical system. They're hurting. There's just nobody there. So this is crazy. Anyway, so we'll see what my readings are. I like to keep tabs on that. But I have to be careful that I don't make myself the worried well. Because one of the things that can happen is if you test a lot of stuff, Gilbert Welch in his book said, it is normal to have an anomaly. You're always going to find something that's out of bounds or whatever. Don't worry about it. I just like to know what it is. So apparently this coronavirus, a lot of people have it. I'm really distressed, and I've mentioned this before, when people are talking about, you know, you could be asymptomatic, you could be walking around, and so for that reason you should wear a mask because you could be shedding the virus. It's like, that's creepy, people. We're not like zombies. We're gonna get you. You know, you don't want to be thinking about that. And who knows, why are they asymptomatic? Most people are asymptomatic, or even just have it and get over it. What's wrong with that? Just let it go through the population. Let us get used to it. This is what's happened in the past. We've had much worse pandemics, okay? Again, unless it's like the 1918 pandemic when people right and left are dying, don't do it. I mean, I'm not doing this, and we need to not do this again. This is disgusting. I mean, I keep thinking about our president, how he just got kind of trapped into this. As bad as things are, I still laugh when people say something like, oh, it's going to hurt him, might hurt him at the re-election. Let me just reassure all of you. Well, this is my opinion, but I've watched many and been involved in many, many elections and just have been fascinated by this. There are two things. First of all, you can't evaluate President Trump just as President Trump. You have to look at who he's running against. And it's going to be really hard, really hard for people to vote for Joe Biden. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch him. I don't know what they're going to do. How did it come about that he is their nominee? So you're going to have a lot of people, the Bernie bros and other people like that are not going to vote for Biden because they're mad. I mean, he just ran an ad, a stupid ad, that Trump isn't strong enough on China. Well, people know Trump's strong against China. I mean, that's just not going to work. And one of the arguments on some people on the left is that, you know, you want to support Trump. I mean, you want to support China or whatever. So he's trying to take Trump's argument? It's just crazy. But even aside from that, there's all that creepy stuff about Joe Biden that will come out. And I tweeted this one thing where he was just flat out lying in like 1988 when he ran. I mean, really lying about his background on camera. The negatives on him are so strong. There's no way he's going to win. So maybe some people with Trump derangement syndrome that just hate Trump so much that they can't think straight will vote for him. But there's no way. Trump will win. Even if some people don't like what he's done with this coronavirus thing. But how can they complain? He listened to the science. I mean, I would love for him to just say, we're opening up now. Enough already. But I realize he can't do it. There's so much good information, for example, on YouTube videos. Because remember, when you are listening to something like Fox News, even the people who are really good, they are constrained in what they can say. And the ones that handle it the best are Laura Ingraham by far, and also Tucker Carlson. Because I get good information from watching their shows, every night. And they do it in a way to protect themselves, so they won't get taken down. But you don't have that problem on YouTube. And, you know, this whole thing about Trump's comments this week, you know, where he was just thinking out loud, like, hey, could we do this? By the way, UV light has been used internally. I was just reading an article where in the 40s and 50s, it was done, like for blood, to kill stuff. But once you had antibiotics, it fell out of favor. Oh, a plane's going overhead. All the noises of the neighborhood, even though this is a very, very quiet neighborhood I live in. So I'm just declaring my independence. I am not, so sometimes every great once in a while there'll be a good article in the New York Times. I won't read it. If you send me an article from the New York, I will not read it. I want nothing to do with those publications that lie and distort things. I mean, if you're reading the mainstream media, you are getting bad information. I mean, I think they even screwed up the FDA. The FDA says, oh, you know, because of heart arrhythmias, now they just recommend that you take the oxychloroquine Z-Pak combination in hospitals so they can monitor your heart arrhythmias or whatever. That stuff has been around since 1955. So many doctors have been using it, prescribing it for people. So you have to wait till you go to a hospital? That's crazy. What happened to the FDA? I was just so disgusted by that. But I'm thinking maybe, because remember, people, even doctors or whoever works there, maybe they hate Trump too, and they're influenced by this steady barrage of attacks against hydroxychloroquine, even though it's being used worldwide. And it helps people, and it works much better. Doesn't necessarily work if you're like you're already on a ventilator, but it works well if you take it early on. The whole heart arrhythmia thing is very, very, very small proportion of people that it affects. It's crazy. So I was very disappointed with the FDA coming out with that. But I'm thinking, I think it actually, some of those people are influenced. You know, you think experts are pure, that they're not influenced by the environment around them, but that's not true. They pick up the nutty stuff, and it starts to influence how you look at data, how you think about things. So I'm just not going to be a part of it anymore. So I also ended my subscription to Netflix. And when they asked the reason, I said, it's too leftist leaning in its shows. And I prefer Amazon Prime because I get a balance of perspectives. Now, does that really make a difference to Netflix? One person? No, but it matters to me. I do not want my funds, anything to be supporting them. And for that reason, I feel better if I don't read anything from the LA Times, if I don't read anything from the New York Times, or any of these publications that have actively harmed people, have actively spread misinformation. I want nothing to do with them. It's my own independence. I'm just not going to support it in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not going to, I mean, when there's an outrageous article written in, I don't know, the Washington Post or something like that, why do we even have to discuss it? Let's not. Why are we on the defensive? Fight back. Shame them. Like, you read that stuff? Why would you even read it? Why would you put that garbage into your brain? Because that's what it is. It's garbage. So, let me close with this. Because I don't want, I believe in personal choice and freedom. And you know, if people want to screw up their health, that's up to them, okay? But it kind of bothers me now because we got to protect these vulnerable populations. Why? Because you're not healthy? You didn't take care of yourself? So I have to fight that tendency within myself to get kind of bothered about these people because now you're affecting my personal freedoms. Okay? Because I'm supposed to protect you. No, thank you. Okay? You protect yourself. Okay? So ask yourself, are you eating too many carbs? Because if you eat a lot of carbohydrates, your body will put out too much insulin and you will have too much weight and you will be predisposed to diabetes. It's not good. Do you have metabolic syndrome, which is caused by all that? Do you have visceral fat? I mean, that leads to so many different things. Do you have high blood sugar? Have you checked it? Do you have high blood pressure? Is your liver functioning well? Your kidneys? I mean, that's one of the things I check, okay? I mean, for example, I never take Tylenol because Tylenol is bad for your liver. Now, taking that N-acetylcysteine that I talked about in my part 2 of weekly episode number 18, I talked about that. That helps your liver. That's, in fact, N-acetylcysteine is what is used for Tylenol overdoses. But anyway, and your kidneys. I mean, I don't use ibuprofen, I don't use Tylenol, I don't use any of those things. I used to, but no anymore. And if you're worried about tumors, which are like cancer, tumors grow with glucose. So if you're worried about cancer, just go totally keto. I mean, that's what I would do. I'm mostly keto anyway. Maybe that's why I don't worry about. And there's a lot of good research that supports this. You know, you don't get as many cancers. Are you exercising regularly? Not sitting too much. Sitting too much is horrible, really bad for your health. Okay, like I said, heart disease and stroke are the biggest killers of people, followed by cancer. Are you lonely and isolated from people? Do you have a purpose in your life? Do you have some kind of spiritual center within yourself to draw upon? Do you know how to calm yourself for extra stress? I mean, these are the things for health purposes you should be doing, not worrying about a silly virus. So, I look forward to your comments and stories. If you have any stories about how you fought back against the busybodies, I would love to hear it. Because we have got to fight back, people. Okay? Talk to you next week.